Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Nick Hausman Show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Nick Hausman Show. I am your host, as always, Nick Hausman, and welcome back to this little space, this little part of the internet. It's got like a white picket fence. There's a bunch of grass, but the grass is made up of microchips or whatever is inside computers these days. And this is where it's all going down. This is where my thoughts, my opinions, my interviews, this is where they're all going to happen, guys, and you're going to be along for the ride. If you're liking the show right now, I'm going to put it out there right now before we get into anything else. Please go over to Twitter at Nick Hausman Show or on Facebook, facebook.com/Nick Hausman Show. Like me. Follow me. I am very interactive. I live tweet about shows all the time. Just this past week, I was live tweeting about Shark Tank. I also live tweeted about MasterChef Junior, and I love live tweeting about Survivor. If you're a fan of any of those shows or just life in general, I've always got some pithy punditry going on over there, and you are more than welcome to engage with me. I love to talk to you guys. I love to talk to you guys about what's on my mind. And what's on my mind right now, guys? Well, I think what's on my mind, same thing that's on everybody's mind. What the hell is going on with this government shutdown? Am I right, people? This thing's out of control. You know, it's so wild to me that you can lose an election, that the Republicans lose. I mean, they lost. They're losers. The Republicans, the GOP, they are losers. They lost the election to Barack Obama, a guy who said, I'm going to follow through on this health care plan. If you don't like it, vote for the other guy. And the other guy said, hey, I'm going to make sure this healthcare plan dies a quick and painful death because it is bad for the people. And everybody got to sit around. They put their little votes in the ballot boxes. And guess what? The guy who wanted healthcare, he won. The Supreme Court upheld it, said it's law. This thing's happening. So if it's going to happen, you can't stop it. And instead of working with it and going with the flow and making sure we can make the world a better place, America a place for us all to do business, take care, get the health coverage we need, new hips, fake eyes, whatever it is that you're looking to get it into your system, we could all just figure out a way to work with it. But no, they got so pissed. They're so pissed that they can't get rid of health care, that they just say, you know what? If you're not going to do it, we're going to make some crazy decisions, guys. We're going to shut down the whole government. We're going to make sure that nothing can happen. We're going to punish everybody so that the small few, the minority, the 80 people in the Tea Party that are sitting in the House, or whoever else the GOP's got, the losers that they are, they lost. They are sore losers. Because of them, we can't have a government now. 800,000 people, they got to lose their jobs. That's not right, people. That's not the America we should be living in. I read a story about some World War II veterans who were trying to get to the World War II memorial the day after the shutdown. And they showed up and were told, we're sorry, guys, the World War II memorial, the thing to memorialize your dead friends, you can't get into. You know what those World War II veterans did? They said, screw you, we're going in anyway. A barricade was moved. They went on in there. They said, this is America. And in America, we don't stop doing things because things are hard. We keep doing things. We keep working. We keep making podcasts, people, because this is America. We don't stop for anybody. I don't care if you're China, Russia, Germany, Brazil, Pakistan. It doesn't matter, guys. We are the USA, and we keep going all the time. USA, USA, USA. All right. Moving on. Let's do something I wanted to do here at the top of the show. Obviously, this show is a little late. I've been dropping the shows usually about every 5 to 6 days, and I'm actually looking to increase them. This show, it's been about a week and a half since the last show, and let me tell you why, guys. I am working on right now upgrading the quality of this show. Obviously, it's not bad quality. If you're listening to the show, it's because you're like, hey, I enjoy listening to this guy, and I thank you so much for that. But I'm getting some new microphones in. I'm getting a mixing board in. I'm going to turn part of my apartment into a sound studio so that I can start inviting some of these famous people that I know, or quasi-famous people that I know, over to my home to do a really clean, slick, totally awesome interview with them that is not via a Skype conversation, like what I'm going to do with my guests here later in the show, my buddy Andre. We have a Skype call. It's actually pretty good quality, but, you know, guys, I can always do better. And we're going to upgrade this show for you and for everybody else so that you can enjoy the show more. And because of that, I talked to Susan Messing, who is supposed to be my guest this week, and she was totally down to do the show. She does not have a new kind of computer. She has an old computer that doesn't have working Skype, and I would have had to explain to her how to set it up. And I just said, you know what, Susan, screw it. Don't worry about it. When I get these microphones up, you're coming to my house. I'm going to pop a bottle of wine. We're going to sit here. We're going to have delightful conversation. We're going to go over an hour, guys. That's going to be a long one when I have a Susan Messing on the show. We're going to talk about Chicago improv. I mean, Susan Messing is a woman that has seen and done it all in the city. Friends with Del Close. I don't know if she founded the Annoyance. I know Mick founded the Annoyance, but Susan didn't go to college with Mick. So I would say she just was a very early ensemble member in the Annoyance. Played at I.O., main stage Second City. She's had her auditions with SNL. We'll talk to her about her Saturday Night Live time. Something I've always wanted to talk to her about. You know, it's going to be a real fun time. But this week, because of that, I'm gonna keep up until episode 10. I'm gonna guess around episode 10 is when I'm going to have this studio space set up. So up until about episode 10, I'm going to stick to just my buddies that I know really well, that I find super interesting, that I can have a Skype conversation with. And, you know, we're just going to be real laid back, guys. We're just going to be real laid back. We're going to have fun. I'm going to try to do some more Twitter stuff, more Facebook stuff. We're just going to keep things going because this is America, guys. We don't stop. We don't stop when things get hard. And with that in mind, also going forward with the show, I am officially announcing that I am going to be breaking the show into 2 shows a week. I have way too many pro wrestling friends, and I have way too many very qualified performance theater comedian friends. So we're going to start doing, ideally, and I hope, again, this should be right after episode 10 when I get the studio set up and everything. It's going to be a lot easier for me to produce these shows. But right about then, I'm thinking Comedy Tuesdays, Pro Wrestling Thursdays, and then I'll run little contests and stuff on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the weekend on Twitter and Facebook. But 2 shows a week. Try to keep about an hour, maybe hour and a half if we do the overrun. We'll see how it is. But that's the idea for the show, guys. So if you have any thoughts, feedback, anything like that, please hop on Twitter, Facebook. Let me know what you want to hear from the show, what you'd like more from the show, or what you'd like less of. If you want less of these intros, or you want more of the interviews, or you want less interviews and more of the intros, let me know, guys. I'm very open to your thoughts. And that's really, I think that's all about on my mind at the moment. I got to thinking the other day, I'll finish with kind of a fun little anecdote here. I have a friend, Kelly, who I was tweeting with last night, and she's a professional mascot for like baseball teams and events and things like that. Where's the big gear? Well, I used to be a mascot as well when I was in the Woodlands, Texas. A lot of my friends know this, but if you're listening to the show and you don't know me this well, you might find this pretty entertaining. So when I was in high school, from 16 to 18, my job was to be my hometown, the Woodlands, Texas mascot. I'd go to 4th of July parades, school openings, library openings, special Arbor Day celebrations, anything that came up. And the Woodlands, Texas mascot was Puffy, or is Puffy the Pine Cone. Puffy the Pine Cone is a giant 8-foot walking pine cone with gigantic eyes, an acorn nose, and a giant mouth. I mean, he's a freak of nature. I mean, this is a walking pine cone with hands, arms, legs, feet, the whole deal, and a mouth that doesn't move. So I'm not allowed to talk in this very large 8-foot costume. I'm not allowed to speak to the children. I'm just this giant pine cone coming towards them. And so get this, most children are terrified of Puffy the Pine Cone because pine cones are very, very sharp. They can cut you. They're pointy. And they're not necessarily something that you go to bed and snuggle with. So parents a lot of times have to come up and like touch the pine cone fronds and be like, oh, look, it's really soft. And then the kid would kind of come over like trepidatiously and you'd kind of get the half hug and then they'd run away. Now, look, Puffy the Pine Cone, great job. Was great to me, whatever. I just want to say, whoever thought of this being a mascot, I mean, they must have been having nightmares or something like that. I mean, something that is a walking, talking. It has a mouth, but the mouth doesn't move. That's kind of creepier. And like the acorn nose, I mean, what's up with that? I mean, he's a pine cone. He's a pine cone acorn hybrid, or is the acorn like some kind of I don't know leech that's like sucking energy from the giant pine cone? I'm not really sure what's going on with that acorn nose. Anyway, you can go online, go to Google, type in Puffy the Pine Cone. You're going to find probably pictures of me dressed as this giant pine cone going to events. Anyway, that was fun. Mascot talk. I killed about 2 minutes. All right. So let's jump into the interview, guys. I'm pretty happy about this interview. I had a lot of fun talking to my guest about life, pro wrestling, and just really when you listen to Andre talk, he's such kind of a motivational speaker. He did say in the interview he hopes that this interview could somehow help somebody. Maybe they could hear something, learn something, or get inspired by what he's saying. Andre's a pretty inspirational guy. He's a very upbeat guy, and he had a lot of good nuggets of wisdom, I thought, throughout this interview. But for those of you that don't know who Andre Salamanca is, let me tell you. Andre, the announcer, as he's known on the pro wrestling scene, is an announcer, a referee, a hype man for Blitz Pro Wrestling, Resistance Pro Wrestling, and Chicago Style Wrestling. He was trained by Windy City Wrestling, and he now works outside of wrestling also as a promotions man. He represents different brands all over the country, from Chevy to Monsanto, shilling whatever products or what they need at events. He's a super athletic guy. He's a really cool, smart, nice guy, and a very good friend of mine. Please welcome at this time my guest, Andre Salamanca.
Let's rock and roll.
Welcome to my interview, everyone, with my good friend Andre Salamanca. Andre did I say your last name right, by the way, Andre?
Yeah, you pronounced it correctly.
Salamanca, thank you. I'm pretty bad with Latin words for the most part. Well, I just want everyone to know that Andre and it took us a little while to get the audio setup going for his computer, but it's set up, and as soon as we got it set up, ready to go, Andre says, great, I'm going to take this whole sound machine outside, smoke a cigarette while we're doing the interview. And now I'm literally watching him wander around his home with his laptop in his hand. You look like the Blair Witch Project to me right now. You know that?
Well, that was a really scary movie when it first came out. So I don't know. Hopefully this interview is not as scary, but we'll see how it goes.
It's going to be terrifying. We're going to talk about some really scary stuff in here, Andre. We're going to talk about your life.
Does anyone really? I mean, sometimes I find I don't even care. So let's see if anybody listening does. Who knows? Maybe we'll inspire some people today. You never know what's going to happen on a Nick Hausman show.
See, that's what I like to hear, Andre, because this is supposed to be a show to inspire people, and you're kind of an inspirational guy, in my opinion, because I really do respect the hustle that you put out. You know, your job, you're a promotions guy, and you work in the wrestling business. These aren't 9-to-5 jobs. These are very odd hours. These are very weird things that you're sometimes doing. You got to have that hustle in this America. Am I right?
You know, if you want to get something done, you do have to keep going at it. And, if you don't have the traditional 9-to-5 job, it's different. I'm an independent contractor. Same with the wrestling business. And you basically have to go out there and just get the things that you want, Some of the things I've been thinking lately over is I'm not really an aggressive go-getter type of guy. I'm not like an alpha male dominant type of guy. I'm more of laid back, and good things always just come my way. But you start realizing in life that, as cool as it is waiting for things to come to me, to truly be successful in this world and to just go on to higher levels, you just got to sometimes go out and be aggressive and go get things.
Well, yeah, let's just kind of start with that. I mean, I have a few loose notes here that I'd kind of like to talk to you about, but we got some time, so let's go with what we're talking about right now. Now, you say that it's nice because you feel like good things come to you. Do you think that that's always just kind of been a trait of yours? Have you always just kind of attracted, like, if you think about something, I would guess you're a guy that's very adamant about the power of positive mental mind thought. Like, if you visualize something in your head, are you the kind of guy that can just make it happen in real life?
No, I mean, I've read books like that The Secret's very popular. There are a lot of books about positive reinforcement, positive imaging of imagining things and it happening. But no, I've always just been kind of like a happy-go-lucky type of guy, and just good things have always just kind of happened to me, hoping that it's karma, that I try to be a good person so good things happen to me. But things just seem to have things just seem to happen to come my way. But it's one of those things that while things have come my way, I've just happened to be in the right places at the right time, while always working hard, of course, because, like anything, you have to work hard for things to come your way.
Very true. And you are definitely a guy I know that's always hustling. You just spent the last 3 weeks down in North Carolina. But, while it seems like everything's going fine for you, you said yourself just now, you got to work to go higher. And let's be real, your ultimate goal here is you want to be a professional wrestling ring announcer. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to. I mean, I aspired a long time ago to be a wrestler, and I couldn't do it. And then, you just want to be part of the business somehow. And somehow I found my way as a ring announcer, and I'd love to do it as a ring announcer. But honestly, I'd love to be part of it, backstage interview, a referee, anything. I just would love to be part of the business, because I just love talking wrestling. If there's one thing I love talking about, it's wrestling. I'm always promoting different brands, and it's funny. We've worked together, so I always try to steer the conversation into wrestling, no matter what product I'm promoting, because I honestly love talking about wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've talked with you a lot about wrestling over the years. So let's talk about wrestling right now. I mean, well, let's tie the wrestling back into your life. So where did you grow up, Andre? Where were you born?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I grew up Foster and Kimball. That's about a couple of minutes away from Von Steuben High School, North Park, northeastern area. Grew up there most of my life. I lived there for about 18, 19 years. Went to college. When I came during my Go ahead.
Time out. Everybody seems to want to give me their life story in 3 sentences, in like 30 seconds. That's not what this show's about. All right, let's start. I'm a kid who grew up in the suburbs of Houston, Texas. I literally grew up in a place called the Woodlands. You know why? It was all trees. That was it. Trees, squirrels, pine cones, that whole nonsense. You grew up in the city, not just in the city. You grew up at Foster and Kimball. What was it like growing up? And you're not in the woodlands, you're in the cement jungle. What was that like being a kid in a real big city like that?
It was actually perfect because while it was in the city, it wasn't like, everything's, oh, you live in the city, you must live downtown. Well, no, it wasn't downtown. It was on the north side. It was a really good neighborhood. We had alleys. I don't know if you had alleys in the woodland. That's where that's where we would play. We would play in the alleys.
No, we had a cul-de-sac. We had a street with a cul-de-sac. So when you were a kid and you're playing in the alleys and stuff, were you always watching wrestling? Were you wrestling in the alleys? Were you doing a little backyarder fed? Did you have a little LWF in the alley?
It's funny. So I've always been a type of person to have like different groups of friends. So on my block, I'd have like 2 or 3 different groups of friends. I had a friend of mine lived a couple doors down. We used to play. That's where I learned to play ping pong, and he was like my ping pong friend. And we used to always hang out when we were little. And then I had another friend down the block. His name was Tommy, and he was a big wrestling fan. It was because of him that I got into wrestling. We never really wrestled around too much, but we would always watch the pay-per-views back in the day where there was only 4 of them. We'd watch him at his house, and he was the reason why I got into wrestling.
Now, how old were you when you and Tommy started watching wrestling together? How old was this?
I think like 8 or 9, I believe. I'm not really sure of the timeline. But we always watched it together, and it was always fun. He was the type of guy that loved computers and sci-fi stuff, and we got me into wrestling. And I don't know, as a kid, I always loved wrestling. There was something about it, the theatrics of it. It was this world. I remember as a kid, even arguing with my mom, like, cause she would say it's fake. I'm like, what about that? Is that real? Or, we'd always have these arguments, but it was just this great world that I got hooked on when I was a kid. And I've still been on that road and loving every minute of it,
It's funny you say that because it is like you watch it as a kid and you're like, no, he fell down. I saw it. Like, you can't just fall down and not hurt yourself. I mean, that's gotta fucking hurt. That guy punched him in the face. That's gotta hurt, right?
Yeah, and it's funny when you're growing up, you have different groups of friends because even when you grow up, like I said, I had different groups of friends. So I had my wrestling group of friends and then your non-wrestling group of friends. And it's weird because, when you hang out with your wrestling friends, you all love wrestling and we're all part of this community, this world, and we love it. But to the non-wrestling fans, they don't understand it. You can't really mix the worlds. So I tried as much to hang out with people that, enjoyed wrestling.
Do you think that it's easier for kids these days to be a wrestling fan and just be around other kids? Because I think wrestling's a lot more socially acceptable now.
It's funny is, we look at wrestling now as an adults and we're like, we want it to be adult, like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and, those wrestlers. And we like despise John Cena. But at the end of the day,
time out.
Kids get started in a wrestling as kids, and they look up to the John Cenas. And when I was a kid, it was a Hulk Hogan, and it's that mainstream guy that gets you hooked into wrestling as a kid. And, when you become an adult, you realize that's not what you like, but you have to get sucked in somehow,
Sure. I just want to, by the way, point out that when you say we all love CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and we all hate John Cena. Now, Andre, you could replace the we with I, because you're not. You don't know. You know that we have differing opinions on things. So the proverbial we may be not appropriate here. Now as a kid, you say you like the theatrics and stuff like that. You got to wrestling at 8. When you're going through high school, when you're going through your schooling, did wrestling ever have was it in the back of your mind, like, I'm going to start doing theater, I'm going to start doing debate, I'm going to start working on my oratory skills because this is something I want to be doing?
No, not really. I mean, I watched it with a good buddy of mine. We'd always watch it, and he had his group of friends, and we'd always watch it. And, I never, ever dreamed that I could be in the wrestling business. I don't know. It's just the way I was raised, my parents, go to school, get a good job. So doing something that was far-fetched is because, going down the wrestling road, there's no security. There's no money, there's no glory. It's all risk, very little reward. So they kind of wanted. I mean, they didn't really tell me, but those thoughts were never in my head of trying acting or something like that. And it really wasn't until I was right after college. My mom had sent me to this program called the Landmark Forum. Have you ever heard of that?
The Landmark Forum. I don't know what that is. Explain.
It's at its core, it's a communication seminar, and I went to this thing, and it was very intense. It was 3 days, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And at the end of the day, it was just helping people rediscover who they really like to help you find your inner voice. Because it's like I said, it starts at the communication level and how to communicate with yourself and find out the things that you really want. We grow up in life, and we were told by parents, society, things of who we should be, and going to this program kind of woke me up and discovered of maybe who I wanted to be. And it was crazy because my parents sent me to college, I got a degree, marketing degree, and I went to this program, and I came back from this program, and I'm like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to try to be a pro wrestler. And I told everybody, I ran my mouth off. I worked hard because I never was a real active person. That was maybe one thing. I was kind of chubbier in high school.
Really?
Wasn't really very athletic, so I never thought it was a possibility.
Whoa. Time out real fast. So you were a chubby kid. You're one of the biggest health workout freaks that I know. What were you when you were a fat kid in high school? What was going on? What were you doing?
No. Not fat. Chubby. Big difference. Was never fat. I was chubby.
You're not a chubby kid now. So what were you doing? You said you weren't athletic. You weren't in theater. What the hell were you doing? Were you just sitting around in basements watching pro wrestling and talking to your sci-fi buddy? Yeah. You and Tommy eating Cheetos together out in the basement? Is that what you guys did?
Kind of, yeah. Actually, yes. Not Cheetos, but it's funny because you don't think about it as when you're a kid and you're either athletic or you're not, but you don't realize that you can work to be athletic. And as a kid, I didn't think it was possible to actually dedicate myself and work hard to be an athlete. And I didn't really get these thoughts until I went to this program and realized that you can become anybody you want with some dedication and hard work.
That's amazing, dude. That sounds a little those kind of seminars for me. It seems a little too cultish when I hear things like that. But I'm glad that worked for you. I mean, whatever puts you in the right frame of mind to get the job done. God bless. So you come out, you say, I want to be a pro wrestler now. I've got this marketing degree. Marketing, by the way, a great degree to have if you're going into the pro wrestling business because you're always marketing yourself, honestly. So what was it like when you decided to get into pro wrestling? Where did you go? What did you do? First steps. What happened?
All right. First step I did, I realized when I decided to do this thing, I was not very physically active. I wasn't trained to take bumps. Like I had never done any physical sport. So I decided I was going to go to wrestling school a year from a date. I forgot. It was like in August. I was like, okay, a year from now, I'm going to go to wrestling school. So I would start training, exercising. I remember I was rooming with a guy, Joe, and he was like a wrestling coach for kids. So I would go with him to wrestling camp at Niles West High School. And, he'd help the kids. And then when he was done with them, then I would wrestle with him. And he would kind of get me in that shape because, if you want to be a professional wrestler, going as an amateur wrestling background really helps out because it helps you get physically endured. It helps your body take the bumps and bruises that are, part of the wrestling career. So, I would train with him, and I had this mentality back then that nothing was going to stop me. It was funny because when you would wrestle with him, and I wasn't very athletic. In my mind, I wouldn't be scared of like getting hit or getting beat up or. You would take it full on and you'd say, I can beat him. I can do it. no matter if I didn't every time. So, back then my mindset was way different. So I did this for about a year, and then I went to Windy City Pro Wrestling. And I went into wrestling school there, and I started going 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Who was running? Who was running Windy City Pro at the same time?
Sam DeCero.
Sam DeCero. Now what'd you think of Sam? I've only heard bits and pieces about Windy City Pro Wrestling, and for those that are listening, Windy City Wrestling launched a lot of guys from Chicago. It's very, very successful. I'm right about that, right? There was a few names that came out of Windy City and went on to some notoriety. Yes.
Yeah, I think when I was going through it, the biggest name that had come through it was Christopher Daniels. He was the biggest name that had come out of Windy City Pro Wrestling. And it was what it was. This was old school. This was it was like $1,200, and you have to pay it. And then I remember you'd have to go to practice, and you couldn't really get in the ring until you could bench your weight 8 times, and you can squat your weight 8 times. And you'd go there every morning. You'd go there for practice, and you'd run cardio. We'd run around the block, do the calisthenics, and then afterwards they would teach us some little things here and there.
You had to bench and squat your weight 8 times. That was part of the gimmick before you could get in the ring. Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's like if you give somebody money, they're like, hop in the ring, I'll teach you how to run the ropes, and we'll get this thing going. We'll get you a match here in 3 months,
Well, you know what, like I said, I mean, one of the reasons why maybe I wasn't successful is like I understand the mindset now. Like when you went, the way that the school was, it was old school. It wasn't meant to be easy. It was meant to pay your dues and work hard and do it for free and get beat up. And over time, then maybe they'd give you an opportunity. It's not like it is nowadays where you give them money, everybody's a freaking wrestler. You just go to school for 3 months. Hey, I'm a professional wrestler. No, this was very old school. They'd break you down mentally and, to see if you'd still last kind of stuff.
How did they break you down mentally, Andre? What hazing did they put you through?
Not really hazing. It's just, okay, see, here's the thing. Life has always been really easy for me. Things have come easy.
You've said this many times. I think a lot of people out there listening to the show right now are kind of like, fuck this guy. But anyway, go ahead.
No, but it's a good understanding because you don't realize that the wrestling world is not meant to be easy. And it's not meant to be like, oh, people aren't always saying, hey, you're doing a good job, keep it up. It's just, back then the veterans wouldn't talk to you. They wouldn't talk to you, and you wouldn't dare talk to them because it was this aura of respect that they were the veterans, and until you proved that you were going to belong, then maybe they would talk to you.
Now, how long did you train at Windy City before? Did you get to work in the ring? Did you get to do some matches?
Yeah, during training, during practice, yes. And then I remember this day that there's a great wrestler out there, Marche Rocket, and he had come into my training camp a couple months after I did, and I remember I'd been practicing and working hard, and there was this spot that was opening up, and they needed somebody in it, and I thought it was mine, and they gave it to him. And at the time, I remember this was like a big blow to me because, like I said, I wasn't used to things not being easy. That was like my first taste of, that kind of broke me in a little bit because I wasn't mentally prepared as I thought I was. Because in the wrestling business, even if you think it's an opportunity that you belong, you might not get it. You still have to continue going forward 100% like you were before.
Well, it's funny that because I think we had kind of different experiences in pro wrestling, or have different experiences in pro wrestling, because I already went through the mental breakdown process in Chicago comedy, because I had been doing Chicago improv for years before I even started messing around with pro wrestling, and so I was already used to people screwing me over, backstabbing, talking shit, taking slots, main eventing, blah, blah, blah. I coasted through pro wrestling. I mean, let's look at my career. I took maybe 8 bumps in 4 years, 8 real bumps in 4 years, and I was making more than anybody else on the shows sometimes, just running my mouth. People gave me, awesome opportunities. I was usually in the main event to the point I started complaining about it. So it's just very interesting to hear that the wrestling business is what broke you down, because the Chicago comedy scene, in my opinion, is 1,000 times more vicious than pro wrestling. So,
well, you know what? It's like I said, at the time I was gearing myself physically, but mentally I was still weak. I mean, I'm a lot stronger now, but you learn these things through experience and age. And it's not like they did anything out of the ordinary. It was just one of those things where you had to keep on pushing and pushing yourself to be great no matter what. There weren't people saying, like I said, they weren't saying you're doing a great job. They weren't motivating you, they weren't giving you positive reinforcement or any of that. You just had to continue to have that will to continue to strive to be better. And like I said, at the time, I wasn't mentally strong enough to be able to continue pushing without positive reinforcement, And at the time also, a lot of my friends and my mom, my parents, they were like, oh, you can't do it, So after a while, the thoughts started creeping into my mind, because to be a pro wrestler or to be anything and really in life, you have to kind of block it all out and surround yourself with people that are supportive. And no matter what, even if nobody's supportive, you have to just keep on going and keep on doing the best you can day in and day out. And the consistency, it's more about consistency, because I could give good effort like maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, but that fifth week I couldn't deliver,
Sure.
So
I get what you're saying. I'm surprised to hear that you say your mom was telling you couldn't do it. So were your parents never, are they, I mean, I know you're still very close to your parents. Do they still think you're nuts for doing the pro wrestling thing? What's
Of course they think I'm nuts, and it's not. I mean, it's different now because I'm a voice and I don't take any bumps. I mean, I will if it's if it's good for business. I'll take a bump if it's good for business. But they were never really supportive because, like I said, they wanted a nice, safe life for me. In the wrestling business, you take the physical bumps, and it's very dangerous, and you can break your neck, you can hurt yourself. Seriously, it's you see it on television. It looks very easy, but it's not easy at all, and you have to trust your lives with other people. And I think something else that kind of not broke me down, but made me, it wasn't the fact that I was more nervous of getting hurt by somebody. It was like the fact of what if I hurt somebody found it very tough for me to deal with that. Because, you don't want to hurt anybody, but it happens. And, and I don't know if I could have lived with the fact of what if I really hurt somebody.
Yeah, no.
Because,
yeah,
like
you're
I said,
absolutely right.
Like,
you're absolutely
like
right.
I said, nobody thinks about everyone thinks it's all easy, but you have to trust the person in the ring with you, and it's all about trust. And my parents were scared that something would happen to me, and of course, you got to remember, up until this point when I decided to become a wrestler, there was no indication that I was physical or that I can take poundings. There was no signs that I could do this. So coming out of left field saying I can do it, people were very skeptical.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys on the scene. Pro wrestling can change people's lives. It helps them change their bodies. Two people that come to mind off the top of my head are Chris Castro and Matt Nix. These guys adamantly call themselves the two-star heroes, but they're starting so young. Their bodies are going to mold as they get older to this business, you would think, right? And like it is kind of wild to get to see, those guys kind of go on that journey from starting off where people are like, what are these middle school gym kids doing in this ring right now, to like, oh man, this guy, maybe grew into a Samoa Joe type character,
You're right. It's funny, those two guys, I saw them come into Chicago style wrestling. I was there when I had restarted with Chicago style wrestling when they were there, and it's funny seeing them go through that transition. They pay their dues like no other. They work for free. They were there all the time. Nobody could say they didn't pay their dues, and now they're out there promoting themselves and trying to get out there and trying to get better. And like you said, you're right. A lot of times maybe we look at them and say maybe you should be more in the gym and whatnot, but everything takes time. It takes time. I think I heard Chris Jericho saying that the wrestling business, you're not really ready to go until like 10 years after you've been doing it for 10 years, and then you can see where you're going to go. So those kids have a lot of potential, and they have a lot of heart and desire, which is one of the things that you need in this business. Like I said, not just heart and desire for 1 week or 2 weeks, but it's 52 weeks a year, consistently, day in and day out.
Who's really turned it around, I think, and has gone from I can't even believe he was who he was Reno. Justin Reno, Tommy Reno, Judas Yorick. I mean, he's big guy now. I didn't see that one coming. He's big guy now.
Anyway. It's funny. That's one of the great things I like about being around these young guys, because sometimes you talk to Justin Reno and you don't realize he's like 21, 22.
He's super young, and I've seen him drunk, and I have seen Reno piss off a room full of veterans with his drunken rants about how he's the future of pro wrestling. But I've also seen Reno. I've ridden in a car with Reno a lot. I think he's awesome. We all get drunk and have a good time and give each other shit. But man, he really has. He's starting to look like a goddamn pro wrestler. He really does.
Yeah, it's because he's got the consistency and he works hard, and it's guys like him I love talking to because they're still young, and that's the one thing I love about being in the business now is like, yeah, I'm not a wrestler, I know, but I like if I can go back now, if I can take the mindset I have now and go back to when I was training, who knows? Maybe I would have stuck with it. You never know, but I like being able to tell the younger guys like what it takes mentally to succeed in this business, because I think I know what it takes to succeed now, and I love telling those younger guys, just give them tips. I mean, whether they listen or not, I don't know, but it just makes me feel better because hopefully you say that somebody listened to something you said, and they're like, oh yeah, I listened to him, and because of listening to him, I'm getting better.
Well, I think that the best piece of advice that you've always given young talent is free T-shirts. Because the easiest way to get over with a room full of people is to throw out free T-shirts. Am I correct?
The easiest way to get over, not just in the wrestling business, but in life. You say you have free something, people love you. It's I've been giving free stuff away all my life, so I'm kind of a pro at it by now.
I want to talk about this real fast because I did have it written down. Andre, you live a life you live a promotions life. You are a promotions man. You do promotions all over the country for companies like Chevy and whoever else, chocolate people, phone people, whatever these people need. But you also, because of this, you've adapted a bartering lifestyle. Do you want to kind of talk to the people a little bit about the lifestyle of a promotions guy and why you love being a promotions guy?
Well, okay, here's the thing. I first got into promotions. I remember my first promotion. It was for this thing called Bridezilla. And we would go on the train, and we had like these shirts that like one of those suit shirts, like you're wearing a tux, and we would follow a Bridezilla, a girl that was dressed in a gown, and she would go on the train making a big scene, and people were like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then we would pass out ring pops saying, "Watch the new episode of Bridezilla." This was like my first taste of this world. And the world in its essence is going into people's normal world, normal life, and doing something different. It's all about learning how to make an impact.
Yeah.
I always just it's kind of the stuff I enjoy. It's weird because I guess it goes back to the wrestling business that you just love being part of the attention, and doing promotions is you're an attention grabber. That's what you're out there for, to get people's attention, to stand out, to be different, to be noticed. Hey, here I am, come look at what I got. And in the essence of doing it, you realize there's all these great things to the world of giving out free stuff, slacking off, learning ways to
Did you literally just say one of the benefits of your job is that you get to slack off?
Yes, it is. There are times like anything that you can slack off, but you find ways to make it fun. Because, okay, here's the thing: if you're supposed to work 8 hours, you can't work all 8 giving high energy. So you find times to take your downtime and regroup and re-break, and then come back to work and give it high energy. Because like I said, you're out there, and people know who you are when you're out there. That's your job.
Yeah, and you get to you get these free samples and stuff, and I know that you're famous for, like, if you've got like a few extra free samples, you love giving them away to people. Like, you had chocolates for a while, you've had booze in the past. It's just a way. I mean, do you feel like you're bribing people for their friendship? I mean, is that like?
Yes, I love giving people free stuff. I want people. I want people to like me, okay? Deep down inside, I still have that need to be liked and loved. And, giving people free stuff really helps, because who's not going to like you if you don't give them free stuff?
Matt, you're absolutely right. I wish more theatrical mediums use this, where, like, if it's, Romeo and Juliet, then, like, Romeo comes out, he's got a T-shirt cannon, and people are like, oh, I love this guy,
Well, see, back then it was more his words and his poetry.
Right.
But he was giving that away.
Sure, because why would people like you for your personality and choice of words when you could just give them free stuff and be an asshole? Am I right?
Well, that's just stuff you learn in the business. The promotions world. It's all about just giving free stuff, and you just find ways to make it work for yourself. And I love it. It's fun, and you get tired of it because at the end of the day, I'm a whore. I tell people, what do you do? I'm a whore. You're a whore. I'm like, yes, companies pay me money, and I say I love the product. It's what it is.
Yeah.
And and on one end, I am part of the commercialism, consumerism. I drive that, and I hate buying stuff, but I am part of it. My job is to make people buy stuff, and and you see the inside workings, and sometimes it's tough because you don't represent all the brands you love, and that's why I'm fighting, because I want to work for the WWE, because that's the one brand that I love, and I could talk about forever, going back to that.
Now, how badly do you want to kidnap Justin Roberts? I mean,
what's funny is I remember when I heard he got into a car crash. Remember with him, Dolph Ziggler, and I think somebody else. And I know it sounds bad, but my first thought was, I hope he's dead. I know that sounds terrible, but see, what a lot of people don't realize is a ring announcer. It's not like a wrestler. A wrestler. I know it sounds bad. I know, but hear me out. It's because a wrestler can go to any promotion, or they can get booked. They can get a spot on the card. I've been finding this out now in the business is the voice of the WWE always has to be consistent, whether they're good or not. It's indifferent. If you keep them out there for long enough time, people will like it. And it's not just wrestling. It's you look at sports, you look at the broadcast, you look at people on radio. It's the same voice over and over again, and the people will just get used to it. Just like I said, I mean, I don't want him to be dead, but that's the only way I can see a spot opening up. I don't see the man saying, "Hey, I'm done."
Well, Vince doesn't like old guys on the television. That's why he got rid of Mean Gene and Howard Finkel and JR. Now, I mean, you're a pretty youthful looking guy. Do you think that there's a chance Justin Roberts, he just starts looking too old for TV and you just swoop in and now then you're the new guy?
It's I think it goes back. We were talking about it yesterday with being like an understudy. If you're at like a Broadway play and, like you said, Romeo and Juliet, you have the guy that plays Romeo. He's the main guy. And then you have the understudy. Now, the guy playing Romeo could do this for years. It's a good gig. He likes what he does. Is he ever going to just be like, you know what? I'm going to give my understudy a chance because he deserves a chance. No, they're going to keep doing it forever. And that's why I find going into the WWE that it's going to be super hard. I think it's harder to get in now than as a wrestler, but you just hope you're at the right place at the right time, and maybe one day he quits, or I don't know, he does something stupid, I don't know, and that there's a position opening, because it's like in life, there's positions that you want. Other than them quitting, them getting fired, or them dying, you're not going to get the job.
Yeah, I really kind of wanted, for a while there to see if it, they were hiring all the managers for the WWE. I mean, look at the managers you got right now. You got Ricardo Rodriguez. You got Paul Heyman. Zeb Coulter. Who else is there? I feel like Bray Wyatt is pretty much a manager for the Wyatt family. I mean, there's a lot of.
It's debatable, but
he's kind of. Well, we can have another show where we talk about the product another time.
Actually, real quick, he is not, because he wrestles. If you wrestle, you're not technically a manager.
But he doesn't. See, now we're going to get into this conversation about the Wyatt family and how poorly this thing has been booked. The guys, the two big oafs, they do the bulk of the wrestling, and then he only wrestles like once a month on pay-per-view.
Yeah, he's still. I mean, let's put this for another time. But he's still wrestling. This is a topic we can debate. But you're saying, there's more managers now.
But I just don't see. I look at what Paul Heyman does, and it's so close to what I did as Ronaldo Piven. I mean, it's just. I don't want to. I didn't purposefully rip a lot from Heyman because I started before he was back on TV, and I really never saw his old stuff. But I watch his stuff on TV, and I'm like, that's exactly what I did. I act exactly. I talk. I do the same like smarmy kind of backstabby. The Piven character and Heyman, they're so close. He would have to completely disappear for my character to even be.
Yes, and you also got to remember, while Paul Heyman's being used now, he has been around wrestling for 20-some years, WCW, ECW. So it's not like he's a new guy they just brought in. He's an established guy.
Right.
And you talk about how hard it is to get a spot. That's a guy that's been in the business forever. So they're not going to give your kind of character to a new guy.
I'm just saying I'd do it better. I would be a better Paul Heyman. All right, real fast. We are getting towards the end of this interview segment. We're going to have you back on another time, Andre. We're going to talk about some other stuff. I am diversifying the show. We're going to do a wrestling and a comedy series, 2 shows a week. So obviously I have you on the wrestling one. But I want to get your thoughts real fast. You are a man that works for so many promotions in the area. I want to get your thoughts on these promotions as I list them off. I want you to tell me what you think of them. Strengths and weaknesses, and
great. I don't get that many bookings now. You're trying to get me fired from the ones I do. Let's see how this goes.
Blitz Pro Wrestling. What do you think?
I love them. One of the best crowds. They gave me an opportunity to evolve into different characters, and I love going there once. It's sad because We used to hang out there. It was fun. 450's now gone. He moved to my, Tampa. Ben the ref just had his last reffing match because he's got to get a job and prepare for his wedding. So it's like the friends we got a lot of friends there, but it's just sad because you're not, you make friends and you want to carpool and there's no more carpooling. But I love working for Blitz.
Yes. Okay. Chicago style wrestling, CSW.
I love it. I mean, no matter what, at the end of the day, they are the reason why I'm back in this business. I ran into Steve Boz a couple years ago, having that itch. He put me as a ring announcer, and here I am today. Because of that, I will always be indebted to CSW, to that business. And when I can, I mean, it's sad because the last couple of months I've been missing their shows because I've had to work. But anytime they got a show, I'll always work it, and I'm always glad to be there. And it's always fun because that was my first home.
And finally, Resistance Pro Wrestling.
Oh, I enjoy it. We're going to be on CNN on this Thursday. I'm not exactly sure all the details, but they give me a chance to be me. They are the one company that's a high-profile stage that lets me be a ring announcer, and for that, I love it, and I'll always be there. And I try to, it's funny, it's weird because the last two shows I've had to kind of miss because of work, but I've still showed up. Even to do one match, it didn't even matter about getting paid because I still wanted to be part. I just, I want to show them that I'm dedicated and I want to be part of them. And I like them for their opportunities they've given me.
It's kind of cool to get to hang out with Billy Corgan, right?
Well, we talked about the other day is when the Jock and Gabe called me and they're like, Billy wanted to make sure you can make it. I'm not going to lie. It makes me feel kind of good that, to feel wanted. At the end of the, it's like I said, it's that ego thing that now I can handle more than I could when I was younger. Cause you got to feed the ego and now nobody feeds your ego at all, but it's just nice to feel wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I think that's a great way to kind of bring this to a close here, Andre. Now, before I let you go, how can people find you online if they want to find you for bookings? No, I mean, if people want to book you, if they're listening to this right now and they're like, "Hey, we need a ring announcer. This guy sounds experienced. I like his voice. I want to bring him out."
And I do not use note cards. Never use them.
Never. So you tell this man the lineup. He'll do his research in the back. He'll show up and he'll charge you between $10 and $12 for the show.
No, dude, $30, dude, $30.
You can get it for $11. Nickels on the dollar. Don't even cover his gas. Tell him that's his own thing to worry about. Have him pay $20 to you to do your show.
And you know what the sad part is? I would do it just to get an opportunity. Don't actually cut that part out. But
it's totally staying in. But how can people find you, Andre? How can they contact you?
They can call me at my cell phone, 847-845-1322. Call me. It's the best way. I love cell phones. I got a flip phone. It's weird.
You just gave out your cell phone number over the internet or over the air.
Yeah. You said, how can people reach me? Well, you call me.
I'm gonna start a campaign on Twitter that's called "Call Andre and tell him you love him" because he desperately seeks your approval and attention.
But yeah, I mean, that's what's weird. I don't really buy into social media. I hate it. I think it's garbage. I know that's the way the world's going. And my dad was talking to me today. You got to meet with the times, and I hate it. I don't care. I want to make it my dream is to make it to the WWE with my stupid flip phone and no Twitter and none of that garbage, and to say I did it my way. It may take me longer, but it's the small price you pay to have things done the way you want to do it.
All right, dude. Well, you gave the people your contact info, your cell phone number, something that's I've never heard that done on a radio show anywhere. Where it's like, you want to contact me? Here's my number. Call me.
And it's funny along that line is I get really excited. I think I'm the only guy that gets excited when I get a number on my phone that I don't know. Most people don't answer phone calls they don't know. I get super excited because I have no idea who it could be. Maybe it's the WWE. I don't know. I get so excited. I'm like, who could this be? And most of the time, it's one of those calls that goes, you've won a trip for a free cruise line. Contact more details for follows. And you're like, damn spam. But,
Yep. Well, this ended well. We had such a beautiful closer earlier with that nice thing you said, and now we've just devolved into talking about social media. So, I mean, this went well.
This is your job. That's what you're good at. You get it out there and do what you do. And this has been fun. The Nick Hausman Show. I'm excited to have been a part of it.
Yep, no problem, Andre, and we'll have you back on the show another time. Thank you for coming on the show, and have a nice night. And that was my interview with Andre Salamanca. He's again, just a really nice, cool guy. I'm glad I could have him on the show. He told me afterwards, oh, I hope somebody finds this interesting. I don't really think that was anything interesting or groundbreaking. And, maybe it wasn't. But you know what? That's what this show's about. It's about taking people that maybe you haven't met that are just good people and introducing them to you. I'm like the OK Cupid of podcastery. I'm putting people in touch with new lovers because if you do love Andre, man, I want to have him doing more on the show. Hell, I'd even give Andre his own Nick Hausman Show where he could be like the Andre Salamanca Show produced by the Nick Hausman Show. I mean, that's a pretty good idea. If you like that idea? Tweet me about it. All right, guys. Well, thanks once again, for listening to the show. We are going to do another overrun, which is myself and Darren Fentress talking about the world of professional wrestling after the song here at the end. So the show is, for all intents and purposes, over once the outro song finishes playing. But if you stick around after that outro show, you might just get a little bonus bit here at the end where me and Andre talk about our thoughts going into WWE Battleground this coming Sunday. Ugh. What a mess it's been building to that show, but we'll talk about that later. Again, if you like the show, you want to support me, you want to show that, hey, Nick, I like this stuff, I want to talk to you about what you're talking about, or maybe just completely different bullshit altogether. Facebook.com/Nick Hausman Show. Like me there. I always post the shows there. I'm trying to run contests there. It's not going so well, but we're working on it. And then you go over to Twitter @Nick Hausman Show. It's real simple. I'm going to say that my next guest is going to be my friend Andrew Brandt, who is the owner of Mount Zion Press. He is somebody that helped me, or he is not just somebody that helped me, he is the co-founder of the Chicago Improv Rebellion. He is the bass player for Death by Thunder, the band that played the Chicago Improv Rebellion. He also works for Apple. He just was in Silicon Valley for 3 weeks. He says he can't tell me anything about what he did with Apple down in Silicon Valley, but you know what? We'll see if we can catch him off guard, see if we can't find any trade secrets out or anything like that. All right, guys, so let's see. I announced the guest. I plugged where to find me on social network, and I recapped the Andre interview. That's the end of the show. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I'll talk to you again later. Take care. Bye.
Time to get a little bit of that overrun action in your life. Talk a little pro wrestling with Nick and Darren.
Hey everybody, I just want to apologize. I tried to get Darren on the line to do the overrun this week, and we actually were starting in on it, and we realized there were going to be some technical issues with the microphone. So I couldn't get Darren and I to do an overrun this week. I do apologize, but I got a hold of Andre shortly before I got a hold of Darren to possibly do the overrun as well, and it was kind of a cacophony of a train wreck. So instead of just scrapping all the audio, I figured I'd throw out there what we've got with me and Andre, which was kind of a fun 10 minutes, I guess. But apologize to everybody for not a proper overrun this week. We're going to do an extended one next week, breaking down what happened at WWE Battleground and our other general thoughts. Might even just release a solo show next week sometime. So we'll see what happens. But guys, apologies, and please enjoy this little bit that I did with Andre. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the overrun. Typically, this is where myself and Darren Fentress talk, but I tried to get a hold of Darren on the phone, and Darren didn't pick up his phone. He's not responding to my text, and he's not responding to my Facebook message, and I said, fuck this. I have to get this podcast done because I'm not staying up all night waiting for Darren to fucking call me. So if I'm talking wrestling, I'm talking wrestling with somebody I know was near a computer and had a microphone. That's Andre. Oh, wait, 1 second. Darren's calling me. Here.
Tim?
Yeah, here.
I'm getting
You're gonna
bumped
listen
already?
I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to put him on speaker. Let's all listen, okay? Hey, Darren, what's up?
Not much. Just got your message.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Are you going to be able to do an overrun?
Yeah, I just got back from running some errands, so yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Got the old bump.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that, then yeah, I'm sorry. Let me, I had something distracted me for a second there. What'd you just say?
I said, give me like 5 minutes, and then I'll meet you on Skype.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, I'll just shoot me a text message wrong because I gotta call you, or else there might be some microphone problems.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
All right, I'll shoot you a text when I'm settled in.
When you're ready. Okay.
All right.
Bye. Oh,
Well,
dude.
there we go. Story of my life. About to get my big break, and all of a sudden, phone rings. Oh, nope, he's here. See?
And we spent a good 5 minutes actually getting this whole thing set up with you on the microphone. But hey, I've got you here, Andre. I know you've got opinions, so he's gonna shoot me a text in 5 minutes. So let's do a quick 5-minute Andre prediction for Battleground. I'm gonna pull up the old WWE website here, the old stall.
My prediction is if there might be a pay-per-view tomorrow, but who's going to watch it?
That's not a prediction. That's just like a statement. That's like.
I'm telling you, I didn't even know there was a pay-per-view this Sunday. Normally, I'm all excited, but they've been doing a really poor job of hyping up these last 2 pay-per-views.
Yeah, no, this is obviously the worst. This is the worst setup for a pay-per-view in a while. But whatever, we can still have opinions about matches. So I'm gonna go down the list, and you just tell me what you think, what's gonna happen, or just your opinion on the match. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, this is the kickoff YouTube match. Okay?
Dude.
That's gonna be
They
Dolph.
put 2 random people together. They just pulled 2 names out of a hat.
Yeah. So it's Dolph Ziggler versus Damian Sandow.
And why are they fighting?
It's the kickoff match.
Oh yeah, but usually the kickoff matches have had like some kind of meaning, like they mean something. These 2 are just being paired for absolutely no reason. Well, let's see. Damian Sandow seems to have the curse of the Money in the Bank briefcase, which means when you have it, you lose every single match. So I'm going with Dolph Ziggler.
Well, here's the thing: is I believe Dolph Ziggler has the curse of nobody gives a shit about him anymore behind the curtain. So I'm going to say Damian Sandow does pick up the victory here because everybody else is going to think that he's not going to win, and they're going to make Sandow look a little stronger, and then they're going to keep burying Ziggler. That's pretty straightforward.
On that note, has anyone seen Wade Barrett?
No. He's not on this list of matches anywhere. I don't know. I heard he's going to get brought back, repackaged. I heard that they're going to do something with him.
Oh, he's like the Christmas present nobody really wants, but we kind of do. They're like, oh, let's try a different packaging. Let's see how we can sell them.
When I heard that, how many times has Wade Barrett been repackaged now? Because he came in as Wade Barrett, and then he was Wade Barrett, leader of the Nexus. Then he was Wade Barrett, leader of the Core. Then he was Wade Barrett, bare knuckle brawler. Now he's Wade Barrett. I think he's a barber, and that's the last time we saw him.
No, they just had him a little feud with Daniel Bryan. No, I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I like Wade Barrett. I think he looks like a wrestler. He's got good potential, great mic skills. I was really pulling for him to win the Money in the Bank, but he might be that guy that give him some years. That when he gets that big break, we'll all get behind him.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I can't say no to that. I think that Wade Barrett has a lot of potential.
All right, so I go with Dolph Ziggler in the pre-show party.
I'm gonna take Damian Sandow and Andre's pre-show party. I think that's how this is gonna go. Do you have any opinions or thoughts on AJ Lee versus Brie Bella, Divas Championship?
None whatsoever. The women's division is really, really, really bad. AJ had her own version of a pipe bomb, which nobody seemed to care, and it's just I don't know what they're doing over there with the women's division. I don't know if there's any planning or they're just new person of the month. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with AJ.
What do you think about Kofi Kingston versus Bray Wyatt?
This could be interesting. I don't know. I think they just finally found something to do with these 2 guys, put them together, and I do not see Bray Wyatt losing anytime soon. Who knows?
Did you see Monday night when it was Kofi Kingston in the ring and the Wyatt family just came out, and then that was it?
That also happened on Friday Night SmackDown.
Why?
Because you have to follow the buzzards. Something along those lines. I don't know. I think they just put these two together and they're like, let's just have something for you guys to do.
You like how the Wyatt family's been handled?
Nope.
Okay.
And they were very strong in NXT. They were the talk of the town, and they got brought up. They had a little feud with Kane, and now they are treading water, kind of.
Mm-hmm. How about Intercontinental Championship, Curtis Axel versus R-Truth?
Another one. I don't know. It's just
this card is not lighting you on fire at all, is it?
And you know me, normally I love everything they throw at me, but this is just something that seems like a Raw matchup. Seems like something you see on Raw and SmackDown. I don't really see a build for it. I think Curtis Axel continues with the holding on to the Intercontinental strap and then just keep on going with that.
How about Cody Rhodes and Goldust versus the tag team champions Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns? And if they win, they get their jobs back, and Dusty Rhodes does not lose his job as NXT commissioner or whatever.
This might be the one match that it's kind of intriguing. You know, it's always fun. It's funny because Goldust still keeps the paint on. You'd think they would just be the Rhodes brothers and take the paint off, but I don't know what to expect. You know, this is the one matchup that maybe want to watch to see what happens. I think the Rhodes family pulls it out and they get their jobs, and it should be interesting to see what's going on. You know, that's one of the things with the Shield. They have the tag team belts, but they don't need the tag team belts. So it's really awkward what you do with them and who you put them against and starting feuds. And it's funny that the Rhodes family goes after the Shield when they should be going after the Big Show.
I mean, there's an argument to be made there. I'm trying not to get too discussion-y with you because I mostly just want your thoughts. Because then I'm gonna go back to Darren and I'll be like, here's what Andre thought. You know, let's judge Andre's opinions. So with that, World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio versus Rob Van Dam in a quote battleground hardcore rules match. I don't know what the difference between a hardcore rules match is and a battleground hardcore rules match. Maybe you could enlighten me into this and why this match matters.
It doesn't. It's just using the name of the pay-per-view in a match. It's a hardcore match, basically, plain said and done. I guess they're just throwing in the battleground just because it's the name of the pay-per-view. So why not? Why not call it a battleground? What is it? Battleground hardcore match or extreme match or
battleground hardcore rules?
Yes. I don't know if there'll be tanks or grenades because that's what you see in a battleground. I doubt those are legal. But I think it's just going to be, I think Del Rio's going over. I think they're just doing the whole thing to get the extreme out of Rob Van Dam, maybe get some more people to watch it because of RVD. But I think Del Rio retained. He's been a good thing in wrestling. I've been enjoying it. Now he is going back to the original Del Rio where he's actually beating people. He's beating them cleanly. Del Rio's on a roll. You keep him on this momentum. Who's going to stop him? We're going to have to tune in and find out.
And how about, man, there was no matches announced for this show last week, and there's 8 matches here all of a sudden. CM Punk versus Ryback, which, by the way, is listed higher than the World Heavyweight Championship match in the listings for this show.
Well, yeah, because they've been carrying on this feud for a while, and I think what's wrong with this Battleground pay-per-view is we all know that Hell in the Cell's later on this month. So this whole thing's basically a holding period. The feuds are all going to carry over to Hell in the Cell. Punk and Ryback, I see a double disqualification, maybe a run-in. I don't think we're going to get a clean finish because this is not the end of the feud, which it will end at Hell in a Cell. And
lastly, who's winning? Daniel Bryan or Randy Orton?
Oh, that's the thing. You would think that this used to excite me, but now they pulled the whole rug out from under us twice with Daniel Bryan winning. That even if he does win, does it mean anything anymore?
Give me an answer. Daniel Bryan or Randy Orton? Who's winning this match?
I am going to go with Randy Orton.
All right. Darren's ready, so I'm going to let you go.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. My 5 minutes of fame are over. I must go now.
All right, dude. I will talk to you later, and have a nice night again.
Have a good show.
Will do, buddy. Take care. Bye.
Bye.